Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Jamie, nice to meet you. I'm so excited for today's video because we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite genres, romance. I'm going to be sharing my favorite romance novels with you. Now, before we start, I just want to say I have actually already filmed and uploaded a favorite romance novels of all time video, but that was back in 2021, like right at the beginning of 2021. So because it's been 2 years since then, I wanted to do a little updated version. So none of the books from that video will be in this one, but please know that like those are still favorites as well. Like those aren't all of a sudden not favorites. Now I just have more to add to my like favorite romance shelf that I want to share with you. So basically I have 10 romance novels that I would consider my like new favorites. So we're just gonna go through them at random, and I hope you get some new book recommendations if you are a romance fan, or even if you're not and you just want to give it a go. These are a great place to start. So the first romance book I'm going to talk about is the only one that I actually don't own, and that is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I can't quite say that Mariana Zapata is a favorite author of mine just yet because I haven't really read that much by her, but what I have read by her I really enjoy, and All Roads Lead Here is definitely one of my favorites. This is a small town grumpy sunshine romance. It is very, very slow burn. We follow our main character who moves to this small like hiking town, and her landlord is like a very, very grumpy single dad. They form some sort of friendship, which obviously then leads into a romance, but trust me when I say it is incredibly slow burn. One of my favorite things about this romance novel is honestly the setting. I think that Mariana Zapata has done an amazing job at creating the most beautiful, like cozy, adventurous setting in a sense. Like our character is constantly going on hikes, so in my mind she's surrounded by all these beautiful mountains and greenery, and Mariana Zapata has just done a really, really good job at transporting the reader there in this novel, and I just really love it. I'm a sucker for slow burn, so yeah, this is definitely, I would say, one of my favorites. The next book I'm going to share with you is definitely a recent fave, and that is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I feel like even my most recent subscribers definitely know how much I love this book. Absolutely one of my new favorites. This is a second chance romance. We follow our two main characters, Eva and Shane, who are both writers living in New York. They had a very fleeting, intense, epic romance when they were teenagers that lasted 7 days, and then we jump to 15 years later. They're full-on adults now. Eva is a single mother, and I guess they're kind of just falling in love again, but this time, you know, their lives are very, very different. When they were teenagers, things were a bit messy, like they had been dealt a really shit hand. But the writing in this is so, so, so beautiful. I genuinely feel like these characters are soulmates. The characters are incredible. The way that we find out about what happened to them in the past and then their relationship in the present day is so gorgeous. This also has the most amazing ending and the most amazing side characters. It feels like really set in reality, which I really like. Like these characters feel genuinely so realistic, because I really don't like when characters don't feel real to me. I have to work really hard to suspend my disbelief about them, whereas these two, they just feel so genuine. I also really love the representation of chronic migraines. Our main character does have a chronic illness, and apparently it's actually own voices for that particular chronic illness. I feel like Tia Williams has done an amazing job at representing people who are chronically ill, especially because I do have a best friend who I'm very close to that goes through chronic migraines, and everything that we like see and hear that Eva goes through, like I've witnessed it in my best friend. Yeah, I don't know, I just loved it so much. This is definitely like one of my favorites out of everything that I'm talking about. So if you are going to read any book from this video, please make it be this one, because it is just amazing. Next, I'm going to share a book with you that is definitely more on the fun side. This is a college sports romance. It is Blindside by Candy Steiner. It's also fake dating, and fake dating is definitely one of my favorite tropes. I read this, I think last year, and I absolutely fell in love because it's so fun. Like it's so unserious. It's just like genuine fun vibes. Our main character is kind of like a massive geek. Like she's obsessed with romance novels, but she's never been in a relationship, and she's actually never had sex before. And then Clay, the male love interest, he is like on the football team and he's very popular. Our main girl character, she's got a crush on this other guy. Clay decides to like help fake date her to like, you know, make him jealous, but also at the same time like teach teach her about dating and teach her about sex. And this book is just so meta, but like in the best way, because our female main character is so obsessed with romance novels. Obviously she's constantly talking about like the character tropes and the plot tropes and the archetypes and all that sort of stuff, which is just really fun. It just gives the book that kind of like really cute and silly twist. It's definitely like a bit heavy-handed at times, but the chemistry between the two characters is so amazing, and the book is so fun and fast-paced that I don't even really care about the cheesiness of it at times. I think if you like the off-campus series, this is definitely really good, and this is definitely more like current and modern as well. I know that the off-campus series was published quite a while ago now, whereas I believe this was released in 2022, last year I think. So yeah, if you are a fan but you're looking for something a bit fresher, this is definitely up there. Next we have another very recent favorite, but still just so good. 5 out of 5 stars. We have Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I'm absolutely obsessed with this book. I love this so much. This is a sapphic romance. Our main character Delilah is going back to the small town where she grew up to be the photographer for her stepsister's wedding, but she doesn't really get along with her stepsister or her stepmother. She's just like there to make money. And then Claire is one of the stepsister's like best friends, and they were best friends when they were teenagers, and they kind of made Delilah's life kind of difficult for her when she was growing up. Like she wasn't the happiest child, and they definitely didn't help. Like they did definitely make her feel very different to the rest of them. But Delilah and Claire kind of start this romance up again. So it's, I wouldn't say it's like enemies to lovers. It's just kind of like a bad first impression when they were teenagers, and then when they see each other as adults, there's this chemistry there that they just cannot deny. The setting again is amazing. I fucking love a small town vibe. I really love the character development. I feel like Claire and Delilah are two characters that still feel very, very genuine and feel like real people. Like I feel like every character in here definitely feels very set in reality, except for maybe more of the antagonistic characters. But like our main characters for sure definitely have, you know, like flaws and strengths and all those sorts of stuff that like real humans have. It was just so good. The pacing was amazing. I didn't want to put it down. And the tension, like I feel like everything happened at the perfect moment. Like nothing was too rushed or nothing was too dragged out. It was just like so perfectly crafted. And I know this is gonna sound weird, but it just feels really professional. You know Ashley Herring has talent and skill as a writer. Like it feels so professional. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's how I would describe it. It's just so good. I really love it. So definitely recommend this one. The next book I want to recommend is one that I've talked about a bit on my channel, but not so much recently. I read this in 2021 and absolutely loved it, and I cannot believe I haven't read like the sequels yet. Like honestly, that's disgusting of me. But it is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. To be fair, this is the only historical romance that I have read, so maybe I do need to give the historical romance genre a chance, because I love this one so much. Basically, we follow our main character Cecilia, and she is itching to be part of the Wisteria Society, which is basically a society of like lady criminals. And then Ned, our male main character, he is an assassin, and he's been put on job to assassinate Cecilia, but instead they fall in love. I will also say that this is also very much set in a fantasy version of Victorian England. The houses can fly, for example, and it's that kind of very silly fantasy vibe. I do know that the second book, while I haven't read it yet, I think the second book has witches and stuff, so it's definitely not historically accurate. Like it's definitely a fantasy romance. The witty banter in this book is fucking incredible. The language also really reminds me of The Importance of Being Earnest, like Oscar Wilde vibes, where it's very much a comedy of manners. Like even though these two characters are definitely enemies, he has been assigned to kill her, they still manage to have that all like, oh, I'm so sorry, like blah blah blah, like that meant like how polite it is. It just makes it so funny. There were lines in here where I was absolutely laughing out loud. I cannot wait to read the rest of the series. It's genuinely so good, and again, just so fucking silly. If you love like the silly Billy vibes like I do, and you like something that's just completely ridiculous, this is that. This is that. It's so unserious and so fun and so easy to read. So definitely give this one a go, especially if you don't usually read historical romance. I genuinely don't really read historical romance. I never really thought it would be my vibe, but this is my vibe. Like this is my vibe. Next I have another one that is so out of the realm of what I usually read, but so good. I was really pleasantly surprised by this book when I read it, and it is Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. This is definitely more on the dark romance side rather than like a funny rom-com or, you know, a fun, easy college romance. This is a mafia romance. It's also part of a series called Monsters and Muses, and the series is essentially just a whole bunch of romance novels inspired by pieces of Greek mythology. So this one follows Hades and Persephone. Basically, our main character, Cal, kidnaps Elena, the female main character, which sounds worse than it is. He definitely doesn't kidnap her. Like, she goes willingly, but she was supposed to be marrying someone else, and then Cal like kills him and they get married instead in order for Cal to like bargain with Elena's mob boss dad. So it's very much forced proximity, like marriage of convenience. They're like, oh no, like we hate each other, blah blah blah, but like the characters were actually so gentle with each other when they weren't being evil. And I really liked that. It's definitely on the darker side, but still so well written. The tension was really great. I really liked this, and I cannot wait to read the rest of the series. Mafia romance definitely isn't like what I'm the biggest fan of. However, not every book in the series is a mafia romance. I know that the next book in the series is like a rock star romance, which is definitely more my cup of tea. So I can't wait to read these Greek mythology retellings, but as like dark romance novels. Honestly, kind of love that. But this book is so good. So if you're, again, not really into mafia romance but want to like give it a go, I feel like this is a really good place to start because I really liked this and I never read mafia romance. Next we have another romance book that I've been talking about heaps recently, and that is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. This is the second book in the Twisted series, and I absolutely loved this so much, and I really was not expecting to. This one we follow our main character Bridget and our main character Reese. Bridget is a princess and Reese is her bodyguard. Bridget is like pretty happy living her life because she has no interest in being queen, but luckily her older brother does have an interest in being on the throne, so she's never really had to prepare for that sort of thing. Whereas all of a sudden, out of nowhere, her older brother abdicates because there's this dumb law where the monarchy, they've got to marry someone of noble birth, and her older brother's like fallen in love with a commoner, so he abdicates for love. And then Bridget is now all of a sudden thrust into the spotlight and has to have the throne and all that training. And while this is all happening, she's falling in love with her bodyguard Reese, which obviously there's a problem here because he is also a commoner. He is not of noble birth. It's so fucking good. Like, the forbidden love aspect of it is just amazing. I genuinely loved the characters so much. Bridget was an absolute girl boss. Like, the girl bossery that we see in her is fantastic. And then Reese is also such a sweetheart. Like, he's definitely rough around the edges, but not in a way that's really toxic. And his possessiveness is definitely more like, none of these guys are better than me. Like, that vibe rather than like that vibe. Do you know? I don't know what that was, but like, you know what I mean, right? Like, he's not toxic about it. He's just a confident king. I loved this book so much. Anna Huang just is like, her writing is so easy to read. It's definitely that sort of addicting vibe, and if you're into smut, I would say that like these two definitely are very smutty. So if you're into, like, I'm not the biggest like smut fan. Like, I don't need to have very smutty romance novels. I don't mind if it's like closed door. If you're a big fan of smut, this and Promises and Pomegranates, yeah, there's a lot of good smut in there. Next we have another favorite romance book of mine that was definitely very surprising, but I really liked it so much, and that was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I read this, I think, back in January, yeah, like the beginning of the year, and I genuinely had such a good time with this. And I think what I loved about it, because what I do genuinely love about romance and the romance genre is my favorite romance books often have something else going on other than just the romance. Like, our characters are also going through some sort of other like big life event, and this is definitely that. Like, I feel like our main character Nora is definitely having some sort of identity crisis. It was so beautiful. Everyone calls it enemies to lovers. It's definitely not. It's just academic rivals to lovers. And both Nora and Charlie, the characters that they are, like, they're both quite uptight and they're both quite serious. They're both very serious about their careers, but they're definitely not enemies. And the tension between them is fantastic. Anyway, This novel is definitely like small town vibes. Our main character Nora goes on a holiday with her sister to this small town, and when she's there she sees Charlie and they're like, what the fuck, and it turns out he grew up there. But while all this is happening, Nora is also still trying to figure out like what's going on with her sister. The sister relationship in here was also very, very beautiful. I really loved it. And yeah, just the characters were all so good. Emily Henry, for me as a writer, just keeps getting better and better. I know that she has novels before her like holy trinity of romance novels, and I still am yet to read those, but in terms of her like romance books like Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, and Book Lovers, I feel like she just keeps getting better and better. So I'm really excited to see what she writes next. I know that Happy Place, her 2023 release, is going to be coming out soon, and I'm just obviously over the moon and really excited to read that. Next we have another book that I read last year, which I absolutely fell in love with, and this is really similar to All Roads Lead Here, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but it is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I feel like everyone is either obsessed with this or they hate it. I am in the party where I'm obsessed with it. However, I am very aware of the issues that are in here. Like, for example, some of the really cheesy lines. Never in my life do I want to read about someone calling a penis a weapon of mass destruction ever again. But I ignore that part of the novel for the rest of it, which is just the atmosphere, the setting. It is a small town enemies to lovers book. It's also low-key single parent, but not really. We follow our main character Naomi, who is a runaway bride. She runs to the small town to help her evil twin, but then her evil twin like steals her car and leaves her with this 11-year-old niece that Naomi never knew she had. So she's just kind of trying to like parent this niece all of a sudden and live in this small town, start a new life. And in that town is also a man called Knox, who is incredibly grumpy. He's honestly incredibly rude. He's a bit of a dickhead, honestly. But him and Naomi have a lot of chemistry. They end up having like a slow burn, enemies to lovers moment. And I just loved the setting and the atmosphere as well. Like, it was so good. Did I really care about the couple? No. But I cared about Naomi so much. Like, Naomi as a main character, I loved her. I don't know, I just really enjoyed this book. It was everything that I wanted from it. So I think if you are like a slow burn, enemies to lovers, small town fan, this is definitely all those things wrapped into one, and it's so fun. Just know that it can be very cheesy and cringe at times. And finally, the last book that I want to share with you, which I'm kind of more talking about a full series, but this is the first book in the series, Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Definitely my favorite romance series of all time. I read this back in, oh, well over a year ago now. I read this at the beginning of last year, and I absolutely fell in love with the characters, which then meant that I read the rest of the series, like Addicted and Calloway Sisters. I read that all last year. That was what I spent my year doing. Even when I was in a reading slump, even when I wasn't making videos, best believe I was still trucking along with this series. I absolutely love it. In terms of like the whole series, we follow 3 couples, like 6 main characters. The 3 female main characters, they're all sisters. So we've already got that like family aspect, but then add in their partners, there's that like found family element. The series is genuinely so good because it's another one where it's like we watch the characters like grow up and we watch them go through other like massive life events while still like caring about their romance and their relationship. It all starts here with Lily and Lo, and Lily is a sex addict and Lo is an alcoholic, and they were like childhood friends. They live together, but they're fake dating to hide their addictions from the rest of their family. So they always like use each other as excuses, and then they realize that they're actually in love. So they end up actually getting together. This is also like halfway through the novel, so that's not really a spoiler. And then it's them kind of like trying to enable each other's addictions, but also try and recover, and the family gets involved, and the whole series is just so fucking good. The first book was amazing. Like, I wouldn't have continued if the first book wasn't good. It definitely gets better and better, but I really like the first one, genuinely. I think this is my second favorite book in the Addicted series anyway. And yeah, made me like fall in love with the romance genre all over again when I read this. So those are all the books that I wanted to share with you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know that my recommendation videos aren't the most popular, but if you did watch this and you want to see more, please let me know if you want me to do a recommendation video for a specific trope or a different genre or anything like that. I already did like my favorite thriller $10 recently, like in maybe like October last year. So that should be on my channel as well. I have an enemies to lovers recommendation video on my channel. If you guys want more videos like this, please just let me know what you want to see. Again, thank you so much for watching. A cheeky reminder that all my socials are linked down below. So if you do want to follow me on Instagram, Bookstagram, Twitter, anything like that, that's all there. And if you do want extra content from me every month, then my Patreon is linked down below as well. On my Patreon, you can get 3 extra videos, 3 extra live shows, 2 book clubs, exclusive Discord server. There is so much on there for only $5 a month. So if you are keen on checking that out, it's all down below. But yeah, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you for spending your time with me. And yeah, have the most amazing day or night. I love you all, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.